What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Monday, the 9th day of December in the year 2024. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here is what we're tracking tonight. The government of Guyana is hoping that its efforts to weed out corruption will happen at a faster pace, according to Minister of Governance Gail Teixeira. At the opening of an anti-money laundering and corruption expo this morning, Minister Teixeira acknowledged that more cases of corruption could occur, even as the government improves its anti-corruption efforts. She said real efforts are now on the way to strengthen institutions to help with the fight against corruption in Guyana.
The issue is that as we go forward in the anti-corruption fight, and as we get better, stronger in our investigation, prosecution, that we will be able to find more cases. But the issue is that we have to focus, and that is why the panel discussion at 11:30 is on building resilient institutions against corruption. How do we keep ensuring that the various, about 16 agencies are involved in anti-corruption in Guyana, that these are strengthened, they have good training, they have skills, they have technical resources, so they can do good work.
The minister also said the country has made steady progress both in the fight against corruption and the respect for human rights, where she said the basic human rights are now afforded to citizens at a more faster rate. However, she noted that where there are gaps, the administration is working to ensure that those gaps are rectified without casting blame.
It's always government responsibility. Government has responsibility, cannot deny that. But when it comes to protection of human rights and anti-corruption, this is the responsibility of all of us as citizens. And so we talk about all of society approach to these issues.
Teixeira said when it comes to corruption, the country has reached a point where persons must not feel that they have to pay a bribe to get certain things done. The 2-day event is being hosted to observe both International Human Rights Day, which is tomorrow, and International Anti-Corruption Day, which was observed today. Prime Minister Mark Phillips believes that local advocacy is crucial to promote human rights and the fight against corruption.
It's interesting that we link human rights and the work we're doing in that area with anti-corruption activities in Guyana. And all perceivable anti-corruption actions that you could take, we're either promoting or advocating through the government of Guyana's programs and also working in collaboration with many private sector agencies.
The government of Guyana continues to face widespread criticism over claims of corruption taking place in several government departments and agencies. More news coming up in just a moment.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look, you know the one, or one touch, even one word. I can start with one step, or one promise, one thrill, one first time, one deep breath, one leap of faith, one day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life, just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
Your own home is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Honey, what were you doing? Let's cash out. Let's cash out.
Shop $5,000 or more at any Massey stores for a chance to win a 2024 Nissan Qashqai Sense and $100,000 every 2 weeks with Massey Stores Christmas Jackpot Promotion.
Political party ANUG and United Guyana confirmed today that while it will be meeting with other political parties, it will not be forming any coalition with the PPP, the PNC, or the AFC. In a statement this morning, the political party denied reports that it had planned coalition talks with the AFC. The party said there were no such coalition talks planned and that it was just meeting with the party, the AFC, on other issues. Meanwhile, at a press conference last Friday, the recently elected chairman of ANUG and United Guyana, Dr. Mark France, stated that the party intends to launch a massive membership drive soon, targeting voters from across the country, as it prepares for next year's general elections. Dr. France said the party, which was formed back in December of 2019, aspires to become the third force in the National Assembly. He said despite significant headways as a third party in Guyana, the Alliance for Change dropped the ball in 2015, and ANUG intends to pick the ball back up.
The Alliance for Change is one of the parties that has made the most impact, not only in Guyana, but in the entire Caribbean as a third party. The success garnered by that party at the 2006-2011 elections is unprecedented for third parties in the Caribbean. The Alliance for Change wasted that opportunity, and in doing so, they would have shot the hopes of third parties. However, we have seen from 2006 to 2020 that there is a population out there who is willing to not vote by race, who is not based on ethnocentric policies, and they're willing to support ideas and individuals who gives a clear message of what is important for Guyana.
As part of ANUG's short-term goals, it is looking to expand its base through nationwide outreaches and to increase its visibility on the political stage. Dr. France said by early next year, ANUG will release its manifesto, clearly articulating its policies and plans for an inclusive Guyana.
We already have a base document from the run-up to our 2020 elections. Things have changed. The economic situation in Guyana has changed. The areas that were prioritized then, we have to relook at those, and we are currently doing so. We can promise the general membership of ANUG, but more so the Guyanese population, that very soon in the new year, our policy document in a short format, along with our official manifesto for the membership, will be done, and we'll get it out there in preparation for our next goal.
The chairman of ANUG also said it is important for the framework to be all-inclusive. During the last elections, ANUG raked in 2,313 votes. Ahead of the elections, it joined its list with the Liberty and Justice Party and the New Movement. The joinder list secured one seat in the National Assembly, which was first occupied by the LJP leader and now currently occupied by the leader of the new movement. 2 weeks ago, it was revealed that GCOM's legal advisor advised the Elections Commission that based on the law, the LJP is the only party that should take up the parliamentary seat, as it gained the highest number of votes among the three joinder parties. GCOM has not acted on that advice. Let's tell you now that Acting Chief Magistrate Faith McGusty will rule on the 30th of December on whether or not the elections fraud case should start afresh, now that she has taken over that matter from City Magistrate Lerone Daly, who fell ill shortly after the criminal trial began back in July. The trial into the alleged attempt to commit fraud during the last elections commenced on the 29th of July. However, it was adjourned after just 3 days as the prosecution raised repeated concerns over the omission of certain evidence that were deemed inadmissible by the then magistrate. At the time, only 2 witnesses had testified before the court: Minister of Local Government Sonia Parag and Head of the Diaspora Unit at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Rosalind Razul. It was during the adjournment that Magistrate Daly fell ill. Today, the prosecution and the defense addressed the legal issue of restarting the trial from the beginning. Special Prosecutor Darshan Ramdani told the court that such orders are often granted by the High Court, and the case currently before the Georgetown Magistrates Court does not require a complete restart of the case. The special prosecutor submitted that the acting chief magistrate can simply recall the witnesses and proceed to hear the evidence.
So they are hoping that a preliminary inquiry will be held in the magistrates court and then we go to the High Court for a trial. The prosecution wants the matter to be dealt with by the magistrate as a summary trial. So now that Magistrate Daly has been, is no longer doing the matter, the question is whether this magistrate has to restart the matter entirely and whether this magistrate has to redetermine whether the matter should be tried summarily or indictably. Submissions were ordered in the last occasion. Those were filed by both sides, and the magistrate now have both submissions before her. We made some oral arguments this morning to clarify some of that, and the magistrate says she needed time until the 30th to make a ruling on this matter. That's the 30th.
Further, he said were the court to disagree with the prosecution, it should then proceed with a summary trial. Ramdani said this would be the most reasonable course for the court to adopt and embark on. He said the other legal issues should not be revisited. He also reminded the court that it is now more than 3 years since the charges were filed, and as such all of the cases should be heard simultaneously. Defense attorney Nigel Hughes objected to the arguments put forward by the prosecution, telling the court that the case must start anew.
A summary trial?
Yes.
We clearly oppose it. I think legally the law is not in his favor. But, whatever the court rules, we abide by the ruling and we move forward.
The acting chief magistrate, upon hearing the brief arguments, announced that her decision would be handed down at 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday, the 30th of December. The defendants in the matter are former Chief Election Officer Keith Lowenfield, former Deputy Chief Election Officer Roxanne Myers, and former Region 4 Returning Officer Clement Mingo, along with Opposition Member of Parliament Valda Lawrence, PNC Reform Member Carol Smith-Joseph, and Election Officer Shafrin February, Enrique Livan, Denise Bob Cummings, and Michelle Miller. They are facing 19 conspiracy charges relating to an alleged attempt to declare fraudulent results during the 2020 elections. They have all declared their innocence. Guyana has submitted its final written brief on the border case to the International Court of Justice, as the court continues to hear the matter that was filed by Guyana against Venezuela. The brief was submitted to the court's registrar by Guyana's ambassador in Brussels, says Narain Singh. The case was filed back in March of 2018 following the determination by the UN Secretary General that he had chosen the International Court of Justice as the means to be used for the solution of the controversy between Guyana and Venezuela. Guyana is seeking the court's confirmation that the 1899 arbitral award, which determined the international boundary with Venezuela, is legally valid and remains binding on both Guyana and Venezuela as a matter of international law. In a statement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs today said, although Venezuela recognized the validity of the award and accepted the boundary for more than 60 years, it changed position on the eve of Guyana's independence in 1966, rejected the award, and asserted a claim to more than two-thirds of Guyana's territory in the Essequibo region. Venezuela had previously sought to have the case dismissed by the International Court, filing two separate objections to its jurisdiction in 2019 and again in 2022. The court has rejected Venezuela's objections, and in December of last year, in response to Guyana's request brought on by Venezuela's threat to seize and annex Guyana's territory, the court ordered the parties to refrain from any actions to disturb Guyana's administration and control of that territory, pending the conclusion of the case. Guyana's memorial on the case was submitted in April 2023, while Venezuela submitted its counter memorial 1 year later in April of this year. Guyana's reply, which was filed today, has responded to Venezuela's brief, and Venezuela will now have the opportunity to respond to Guyana's reply with its rejoinder, which is due on the 8th of August 2025. The court will then in due course set a date for oral hearings. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has said Guyana welcomes Venezuela's engagement in the merits phase of the case. The government has also said it is fully confident that it has shown in its reply that Venezuela's challenges to the arbitral award and the international boundary as set forth in its counter memorial are entirely without merit, and that the court will ultimately confirm the validity, finality, and legally binding nature of both the award and the boundary.
It's here again! The Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union Festive Favorites Christmas promotion is here! Members, here is your chance to win and win big! You can win one of 10 50-inch television sets, over 40 grocery vouchers valued $50,000, one of 10 microwaves, one of 10 vacuums, and one of 10 Samsung cell phones. But wait, that's not all! Members also have a chance to win one 60-inch television, an air conditioning unit, a double-door refrigerator, a trip for two to Kaitro Falls, and a grand prize of $500,000. Yes, you heard right, $500,000. It's Festive Favorites at GPS CCU. To enter this promotion, you must be a member of the credit union in good standing and must have taken your first loan. Each member is entitled to only one coupon. Coupons are available at our Hatfield Street office and our representatives countrywide. Happy holidays from the Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union. People helping people.
Your own home is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
We turn our attention now to the oil and gas sector. A claim by opposition representative on the Natural Resource Fund Investment Committee, Terence Campbell, that its board is a rubber stamp and white elephant has sparked concerns, with the Alliance for Change demanding answers as it sees Mr. Campbell's revelations as troubling. In a recent letter to the media, Mr. Campbell revealed that he sought justification on a number of occasions for withdrawals from the fund, and those requests have been brushed aside. At a press conference last Friday, the leader of the AFC, Nigel Hughes, said it should concern all Guyanese that there is little to no accountability on how the oil monies are being spent.
In other words, our assets, we the people of Guyana, the money that has been generated for us and for the generations that come after us, there is absolutely no scrutiny whatsoever by the investment committee. If we really sit down and think what that means, in other words, this has now become a slush fund, a facilitating entity that literally carries out the government's bidding, when in effect their primary responsibility is to overlook exactly what the government is doing with our money, our assets,
The Alliance for Change leader said because the board and committee operate and take instructions from the government, the country's oil resources are at severe risk. Last week, Vice President Bara Jagdeo said it will be difficult for the government to show individual projects that the monies are being spent on, since the monies would flow through the national budget. He, however, assured that the monies are being used for infrastructure, health, education, and other development programs. But the AFC leader said he fears that the monies are being used too for political purposes and to benefit those close to the PPP government.
I want you to seriously ponder where we are when we have a government that is spending as if there is no tomorrow. We have an oversight committee, which in the words of one of the same committee has said that they're nothing more than a rubber stamp and they're nothing more than a white elephant, which in effect is facilitating the spending by the government of the day, contrary to the interests of the people of the day. If this is indeed correct, we immediately call for those members of the Oversight Committee to indicate what methodologies they have used to interrogate the government's applications for spending. What is the professional advice that they have sought before approving government expenditure? And what are the methodologies that they have deployed in relation to making decisions about our wealth and about...
Hughes also noted that although the Oversight Committee's function is to review and examine the way monies are being spent, that committee has not provided any information to the public or within its structure on how the money it continues to approve for government spending is being used. With general elections set for next year, the Working People's Alliance believes it is imperative for President Irfan Ali and the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Norton, to engage in dialogue with the aim of finding solutions to the many challenges confronting the Guyana Elections Commission. The opposition and the Elections Commission are at odds over the credibility of the voters list and the need for adequate safeguards such as the use of enhanced biometrics to safeguard and guard against electoral fraud. The Elections Commission is also facing concerns of bias. With a number of the issues requiring legislative changes, the co-leader of the WPA, Dr. David Hines, said a political intervention may be needed.
Such a solution must include a shared agreement on the rules, the architecture, and a code of conduct for the elections. This is an imperative given what is at stake. It is clear that GCOM finds itself a prisoner of the logic of our political divide. A political solution at the level of the political leaders would release the shackles from GCOM and allow that body to do its job in an impartial manner.
Dr. Hines reasoned that such a solution would remove the growing anxiety in the wider population and restore a sense of confidence in the electoral process. He said the Working People's Alliance's first preference is for the leaders to take the initiative and begin to meet on their own accord. But given their vast differences on the fundamental issues at hand, it may be necessary for some form of mediation. The party proposes a combination of local, regional, and international mediators. Dr. Hines warned that the failure to find common ground can put the country at risk of there being heightened tension as the country moves closer to next year's elections.
First, we are putting our national cohesion at great risk. Our fragile national compact simply cannot withstand another election which is mired in controversy because our major political actors disagree on the rules. This is a sure recipe for prolonged political instability, which, given Guyana's ethno-political divide, could disintegrate into overt conflict. We have been down that road before.
And he also warned that political instability can take a toll on Guyana's economy and hamper economic development.
Economic development in a petro state which is mired in political instability is a non-starter. We have already seen the early signs of how a drift in the direction of autocratic rule is being hastened by our newfound wealth. Controversy over how the oil economy should be managed, how the revenues should be distributed, and what should be our socio-economic priorities will be compounded by a hyper-acrimonious election.
The Working People's Alliance believes the two leaders must arrive at solutions that would restore the public's trust in the electoral machinery and allow for a free and fair election come 2025. The Guyana Police Force today denied reports that Deputy Superintendent of Police Fiona Harris was transferred from her post at the Chetty Jagan International Airport in the Immigration Department over the wife of embattled Assistant Commissioner of Police Calvin Brutus leaving the country following an order of the court. Mr. Brutus and his wife, along with others, are facing multiple fraud and money laundering charges before the courts. The wife, who is pregnant, sought and got the court's permission last week to leave the country for medical attention. There were reports that there were efforts to delay her departure, but she eventually left. The Guyana Police Force today said it recognizes and respects the ruling of the court, which permitted Ms. Alder to travel overseas for medical reasons. And in keeping with the directive, due process was followed to facilitate her departure. The police said a discussion occurred between Superintendent of Police Stephen Telford, who is the Deputy Chief Immigration Officer, and the Deputy Superintendent Harris, resulting in the arrangements being made for compliance with the court order at the airport. According to the police, at no point did Deputy Superintendent Harris act outside of her authority or against established protocols. And contrary to reports circulating, the Deputy Superintendent was not transferred and there were no transfer orders issued. The police force has also refuted claims that officers are being threatened with demotion, transfer, or criminal charges in connection with the matter.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guyoil is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyoil's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guyoil has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look. You know the one. Or one touch. Even one word. I can start with one step. Or one promise. One thrill. One first time. One deep breath. One leap of faith. One day to remember. Or one night to forget. One moment. So many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life. Just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
Across the region tonight, let's begin in Haiti, where at least 110 people were killed over the weekend in a slum in the country, when a gang leader targeted elderly people that he suspected of causing his child's illness through witchcraft. The gang leader, Monel Makano Felix, ordered the massacre after his child became sick, according to one organization, saying that he sought advice from a voodoo priest who accused elderly people in the area of harming the child through witchcraft. Gang members killed at least 60 people on Friday and 50 on Saturday using machetes and knives. This slum, which is located in the capital of Port-au-Prince, is among the poorest and most violent areas in Haiti. Tight gang control, including the restriction of mobile phone use, has limited residents' ability to share information about the massacre. Felix, who heads the Wharf Jerim gang, was in 2022 banned from entering neighboring Dominican Republic. His child died on Saturday afternoon, according to reports. In Jamaica, the acting director of public prosecutions, Claudette Thompson, has argued that public demands for harsher punishments, such as the death penalty as clamored for in cases of mass murder, ring hollow, when many of those calling for such measures avoid fulfilling their civic duties, including jury service. In an interview with the Sunday Gleaner last week, she stressed that true justice requires active participation from all members of society, not just criticism from the sidelines. In making that point, she referenced the case of Rushan Barnett, who was convicted and sentenced to 5 concurrent life sentences in October of 2022 for the murders of his relatives in one part of Jamaica. The official emphasized that those accused of serious crimes, including murder, must be treated within the confines of the law. And commenting further on the issue, she noted that persons who are accused of committing multiple murders must be given a fair sentence by the court if they plead guilty at the earliest opportunity, regardless of how gruesome their crimes may appear in the public eye. And finally tonight, international news. UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy says ousted Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is a monster whose downfall is a humiliation for allies Russia and Iran. Meanwhile, the UK says it's pausing asylum decisions on cases from Syria, following similar statements from several other European countries. In Syria, there were huge crowds outside the capital's notorious Sidania prison, following allegations of some inmates being held in underground cells. Thousands of Syrians disappeared under Assad's regime, but a group representing inmates says there are no detainees left inside. Assad, now reported to be in Russia, fled after rebels led by a group known as Hayat Tahrir al-Sham took control of Damascus. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting and encouraging you to have a safe and enjoyable night.